Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Chelsea. I'm excited to do this webinar with you. I am going to ask that we use the chat a bit because I just feed off of energy from other people. So I would love it if in the chat, as you're joining us, you start to tell me your name and where you're from so I can see who's all with us today. We can have a good time learning from one another, sharing ideas. Hello, Jill from Reading. Lots of people, this is so exciting. Layla, Kyle from Katy, I've done some work in Katy. Christy from Benson High School. Ruth, hi Ruth. Darlene from Birdville, worked with Birdville. Fantastic. Haley from Wisconsin, Rachel from Houston, Andrea from Mexico. Look at all this. Devin from Mukilteo, Washington. I'm in Washington, I'm in Spokane, Washington. Anna from Kennewick. I get to go there tomorrow. My cousin is getting married. We have a bridal shower to attend to. Right. Let's see. Got Sky, Kay, Angie. Oh, all these awesome from all over the place. Love it. Christy from Humble. Hi, Christy. I just worked with Humble not too long ago. Kristen, New Mexico. This is going to be fun. All right, Vancouver, Washington, Tennessee, all places I want to go. Lindsay Lombardo, my friend Lindsay is in the house. Hi, Lindsay. Okay. Well, one of the things that we think would be fun is if in the chat before we get started, if you shared the strangest place that you've had to Zoom. It's the strangest place you've Zoomed from. I'm trying to think what mine might be. You know, like my car a few times. Jill works in the closet. We've got a couple bathrooms. Oh my goodness. Adventures. Oh, look, all these people coming in from all kinds of different places. This is my favorite part about doing this kind of work. It's just all the people we get to meet along the way. All right, we've got more people who Zoom from their car, their back patio. That's one of my favorite places, actually, is from my deck. I love that. Ooh, Katie, you have done Zooms from the lake. I am jealous. Poolside Sandy, yeah. The garage, fantastic. I feel like we're all building like common or empathy for one another where we're like connecting based off of the weird things that are happening in our Zooms. I know that I've had some weird things happen in the middle of my Zooms. Like just earlier this week, a moose ran out in front of my window and my eyes got really big. I could see it in my picture on the screen. And I was like, oh, I should probably tell them there was a moose. Layla says she's Zoomed from a grocery store on multiple occasions. Wow, pretty cool. An elevator. I'm just impressed that your connection stayed stable. Fantastic. All right, so our time together today is going to be focused on how we as building leaders can support our staff, not just teachers, but all staff during these what we call challenging times, or times in education that we've literally never thought we were going to have to endure, yet here we are doing it. overcoming all of these obstacles and talk about examples of perseverance. So before we jump in, I want to just start with a huge thank you to all of the building leaders, administrators, teacher leaders, district leaders. You all do not receive enough appreciation. From a fellow administrator, I was a high school assistant principal for the last 6 years. I can tell you that I am in awe of the work that you are doing right now to make sure that schools start and are meaningful for all students. But then also as a parent of elementary age children, I have watched your hard work from a distance, and I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you. You have supported my own kids along the way and made sure that they were challenged and stayed connected with school, even though we were doing it in a way that we've never done this work before. And I know that this work has been challenging, exhausting, and probably overwhelming at times, but despite it all, you all are making such a huge difference. So I just wanted to start with thank you. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your grace, all of it. You all are doing a fantastic job, and it is not going unnoticed. All right, so we're gonna dive into a few things that I think might help you as a building leader to support your staff. And really, throughout this presentation, we're gonna go with that philosophy that we all need to be reminded more than we are taught, because most of these things are things you already know. But if we're really intentional about them, we know that they can make a big difference. So we're gonna start with the idea of the empathy gap. I think many of you have heard this before, but the average student today has as much anxiety as the average psychiatric patient in the 1950s. And that's just the average student. Every time I hear this statistic, I always think back to, okay, if that's our average student, I wonder how the average teacher's anxiety is right now. In the times when everything is just so uncertain and we're requiring so much change of everyone. So I'm going to suggest that we work with that concept from Michelle Borba that says, as anxiety goes up, empathy goes down. This is one of the main points that we share in our Character Strong Professional Development, but typically we're talking about this in relation to our students. But if we're real, we all experience anxiety, and right now our levels of anxiety are probably heightened because there's just so much uncertainty. And as our anxiety is going up, our empathy is going down too. When we're anxious and feeling overwhelmed, our ability to empathize with those that we're serving is lessened. So it's critical that we're taking care of ourselves and working to support our staff to take care of themselves and support one another. But I'm gonna be totally honest and let you know that I am by no means an expert on work-life balance, but I will tell you that I too am experiencing that heightened anxiety as I'm starting all kinds of new challenges and tasks related to moving to a virtual setting for everything. So we are all there in this shared space together. And I think one of the best things that we can do is continue to really focus on our own wellness so that we can be intentional about lowering our anxiety, so that we can lean in and respond with empathy. Because I know I'm seeing this in my own house as a parent. When my anxiety is up, I'm stressed about different things, I'm definitely less likely to respond with empathy, and then I feel horrible afterward. So if we're intentional every day, focusing in on our own wellness and building in time to support ourselves, then we can lower or decrease that anxiety so that we can better serve, because it is way too challenging to serve from an empty cup. So a few ideas that I have are, we're gonna start with attitude of gratitude. We just wake up every morning and start with a grateful thought, things that we can be thankful for, rather than just jumping in and starting our day. And then one of the things that we often do as building or district leaders is wake up, open our phone, and check our email. And sometimes, or maybe usually, there's not an email that says, thank you for all the hard work you're doing. A lot of times we're getting the hard emails that we have to respond to. So Instead of just jumping into work, what if we start with that idea of attitude of gratitude to just start the day? Start your day with a thankful thought, grateful thought, something that you are just thankful for. Another idea is that of mindfulness. This is the hardest one for me, but I can tell you that as I have practiced it more and more, it's becoming more and more effective. So even just taking a moment to yourself to close your eyes and visualize, and maybe closing your eyes makes you feel too vulnerable, but even breathing through it. That whole idea of figure 8 breathing, we did this with our staff when I was working at school at Sumner High School this last spring, and we closed down, we did figure 8 breathing with the staff. And it really helped me a ton. And at first I thought, oh my gosh, they're gonna make fun of this, but it was great. And I've seen lots of people start to implement different breathing techniques that we can try. You could also think about yoga, things of that nature. And then we get to physical health. And for some of us, maybe the attitude of gratitude or practicing mindfulness isn't what's best for us, but physical health, focusing in on exercise or eating well, will help us to lower our anxiety. I know lots of people who will go for a run or walk in the mornings before they go to work. It helps to lower that anxiety, get rid of some of the stressors that they're feeling. And the last piece I want to tell you is that we want to practice and model this wellness as building leaders. Because yes, we need to be lowering our own anxiety, but at the same time, if we're practicing and modeling wellness, our staff will be more likely to practice wellness as well. And we know that these are strategies that they need to be implementing so that they too can lower their anxiety. Because if we have staff walking into the room with heightened anxiety and students are walking into the room with heightened anxiety, when they butt heads, it's a disaster. So we've got to provide them with models, examples of what this could look like. You could even build it into staff meetings or share out ideas of what you're doing so that they can try some of them as well. So speaking of sharing ideas, I would love to see you fill the chat with different ways that you work on your own anxiety. How do you decrease your anxiety? What could it be? I know I've seen people like to do journaling or coloring. How do you do it? Layla says pizza breathing, triangle breathing. I love that, Haley. Affirmations. Yes, Gina. Taking the dog for walks. It's a great one. 4-7-8 breathing. Riding a bike. Pilates. Playing games with kids. Oh, it's such a fun thing to do. I had the best advice I ever received as an administrator is when you're feeling really anxious, go and be with the kids. What great advice. Walks, yoga, playing Uno, love it, card games. Lisa says, just stop looking at emails if we're actually going to work, and that is fantastic advice, absolutely. And before you go to bed, don't read them then either. Love it. And I love all of these ideas, reading, listening to music, yes. We've got to focus on lowering our anxiety so we can be models for our staff. Another idea is that of power of moments. This is a book written by Chip and Dan Heath. It helps us to think about certain moments and how they can have a huge and lasting impact on the lives of our staff. Right now, we're enduring so many different things and challenging that it's important that we are intentional and we focus in on these opportunities to have these powerful moments. It's by Chip and Dan Heath. If we focus in on these powerful moments, we're going to be able to build authentic and meaningful relationships with our staff. So a few ideas for how we can be looking for these moments. The first one is to celebrate with staff. You can honor and celebrate new staff, veteran staff, just all staff. How are we welcoming back staff? It's one way that you're going to welcome them back in a way that's meaningful. We have an opportunity as we're starting schools up. Some of you already have. But how do you use a fresh start, even if it's not the start that we intended, to have a powerful moment with them? How are you introducing new staff? One of the ways that the Character Strong team welcomed me as I just started on July 1st is they sent me videos from different people that I know and will be working with to welcome me onto the team. That is such a fantastic way to have a new staff member feel like they're a part of your family. Maybe different department heads or grade level teams could film a short little video using Flipgrid or Zoom or whatever technology your district will be using to send just a welcome message. The other piece is to lean in during tough times. There will be tough times, there always have been. As building leaders, we know this more than anything. So we want to lean in with that courage. Don't push away from it because it causes us fear, but lean into your courage and model how to get through some of these tough times. Support staff in these tough times. Sometimes it will mean sitting with them and having private conversations. Sometimes it will be, asking tough questions, having crucial conversations. Those two are powerful moments to help you as a building leader, help move your staff in the direction that you want to move, focused in on your mission and your vision. You also want to be thinking about attention and appreciation. Look for opportunities daily, monthly, to show appreciation of the amazing work your staff is doing. You can highlight successes and efforts of staff who are trying something new, centered around student needs. One of my favorite education gurus is Dr. Anthony Muhammad. He wrote the book, Transforming School Culture. And in it, he talks about 4 different groups of staff and how we need to leverage members of each of those groups to help create the culture that we want to have. And one of those groups are the believers, the people who just jump right into the work because they know it's what's best for students. How can we provide the believers with that attention and show them appreciation for what they're doing? Because oftentimes as a believer, it's really hard because you get pushback from other staff members. You get asked to do a lot of things because you're willing to implement and try new things. So you're asked to be on lots of different teams and be a decision maker, which is great. But how are we showing attention to those things so that we're highlighting exactly what we want to see throughout our school? You want to recognize what you want practiced. Give attention to the things that you want to see spread across your staff, and then showcase these ideas, these beliefs, these systems. Share that with everyone. We can go back to celebrating with your staff. One of my favorite power of moments is with new staff. And you can go around and you can take a picture of them teaching. You might do this with, even virtually, you could take a screenshot of them teaching. And then right before the holidays, you print that picture, you frame it, and you send it to their family and thank them for raising a teacher because they're making a difference. It's a great way to build relationships and to help that new teacher make sure that their family has a gift on their very first year. Love that, Barbara. It's good to see that you're here. I love that you're like the chat is just filling up with all kinds of comments and ideas. Keep them coming. I love it. The next portion is a little bit of the how for administrators. How can we serve our staff intentionally? The Law of the Lid by John Maxwell says we can't, one of the many things it says, so we can't expect more from others than we're willing to give ourselves. So we need to model what we want from our staff. And this is where we can really dig in and do this work. And at Character Strong, we do this through the Character Dare process. But we have Character Dares for administrators too. So we created a set of dares just to help you kick off this school year, the 2021 school year. So we have designed some dares. And if you're unfamiliar with the Character Dares, They are ways that you can practice character intentionally with your staff. And these ones in particular are meant to help you serve your staff, but also serve your own needs. So we've designed these so that you have it for the first 5 days with staff, maybe your back to school PD, and then the first 5 weeks of school. We also have a whole new set of character dares in our Character Strong gym that are meant for just this year, that are organized to follow throughout the year. So intentionally built through September all the way through June to help you out. So this first one is called EMR for Staff. We do EMR with our students a lot. EMR stands for Establish, Maintain, Restore. This one is meant for you to do that same process with your staff. So you take a look at your staff roster, you identify which of your staff members you need to establish a relationship with, which ones you need to maintain a relationship with, and which ones you need to restore a relationship with. And you just put an E, an M, or an R next to their names. This is just for you, not something that you would share with your staff. And then you intentionally interact with staff based on where you're at with your relationship with them. So if you need to establish a relationship, ask the staff member about a hobby they enjoy when you talk with them on day one. If you need to maintain a relationship with them, ask about something specific going on in their life that you know about. If you need to restore a relationship with someone, find at least one opportunity during that first day to compliment that person on something. It can be related to work or it could even be personal, but find that opportunity to compliment them. Day 2 is I do, you do, we do. You kick off the first day of staff professional development with a favorite relationship building activity, and then model that activity by being vulnerable and sharing something about yourself before you ask your staff to share. You can use lots of different activities like the hot seat, trading places. Maybe it's just like That's Me, where people turn on their cameras and turn their cameras off if you're doing it virtually. The deck of destiny, anything that helps you to build relationships with your staff, because we want to put the focus on relationships first. The key is that we get to know staff and they get to know you, so you need to participate too. What is your favorite relationship building activity to do with your staff at the start of the year? In the chat, share with me your favorite one. I always liked cross the line, staff bingo. Love it. Scavenger hunts, crazy games in the gym. It doesn't matter what it is as long as it's fun and people are moving. Love it. Big 5 personality assessment, where you're assessing different personalities. I've seen schools give lanyards based on the different colors of the personality. So when you are interacting with them, you'll know what their color is just by looking at their lanyard they wear every day. Hungry hippos. Oh, I need to learn about that one. Amazing race. I love that idea. We did an escape room last year. That was really fun. Kahoot gets those competitive juices going. Fantastic. And keep those ideas coming. I'm gonna keep cruising so we don't run out of time. Intentionally positive is the dare for day 3, where you connect with each staff member that you oversee to share with them one thing you appreciate most about working with them. This can be done in one-to-one conversation, can be done publicly during professional development or in the chat if it's virtual. You could even put it on social media. But better yet, you could do this in the way that the other person would like to receive your praise. For some people, they do not like public recognition, and knowing that is helpful. But for others, they really like that and enjoy it, but just providing them with praise. Day 4 is one of my favorites, called Coffee, Tea, and Treats, where you provide time no more than 10 minutes, for staff to complete a survey that asks each member of your staff to identify their favorite coffee or tea drink or beverage that they could usually get at any coffee stand, and then a treat. And then you create a list. If you just use Google Forms, it's nice because you have your spreadsheet that you can then share with staff. And then you use this list throughout the year to thank staff for their hard work and/or specific achievements. It's a great way to work on your list of staff that you need to establish, maintain, and restore a relationship with. And like I said, you can share this list with the entire staff to encourage them to do the same, to thank one another throughout the year, or to provide a staff member with a special little pick-me-up. It helps to get that specific gift rather than always giving the gift card. You can actually get on what their favorite coffee might be. On day 5, if you actually get 5 days with your staff, which I think is awesome if you do, we suggest that you write a letter to your staff acknowledging the frustrations, disappointments, anger you felt during the last 6 months, but also address your hopes and beliefs for the future. And then you conclude your letter by expressing your unwavering support, appreciation, and admiration for your staff's commitment to all your students. And then share this letter with your staff in person or via email the day before school starts. And if you're virtual, you could even record yourself and then send your recording out to your staff so that they can hear the message straight from you. Now we're going to move into the first 5 weeks of school. This one is called Are You the Principal? I don't know about you, but I've had a number of times where students like, are you the principal or is it that other lady? So the challenge is for you to go into at least 3 classrooms each day during the first week of school and participate in their get to know you activities. Be honest and vulnerable so you can get to know the students and they can get to know you. You might need to check in with your teachers before you go in, but the goal is for more students to have the opportunity to get to know their administrators. During the second week of school, focusing in on that positive potential that we know every student has. So you identify the top 5 students that were disciplined last year and spend the week looking for something positive that that student does or says. And then as soon as you found it, you celebrate that moment with that student and by making a positive phone call home. You can even ask that student who they would like you to call. Sometimes it's not somebody who lives with them, but like their grandparent or their aunt, they would like you to call. During the 3rd week of school, you can do You Tell Me. During your September staff meeting, ask your staff to create admin character dares that they would like for you to complete at some point throughout the year. The cool thing about doing this is that staff has the opportunity to tell you how they want to be served throughout the year. Now, if you have a staff of over 100 people, you might want to group them up so that you can actually have enough that you can just do throughout the year so that you're not feeling overwhelmed by the number you need to get through. So you can think about having grade level teams write one or departments write one together. But it's a fun way for your staff to tell you how they want to be served throughout the year. The 4th week is a community cafe. You can schedule a virtual community cafe to meet with families and community members. Encourage attendees to bring their favorite caffeinated beverage to enjoy as you discuss. During the community cafe, you can provide an opportunity for you and the participants to get to know one another, as well as share your goals, your mission, your vision for the upcoming school year. And if you use the Character Strong Gym, you can also share the family dares with them and talk about how to complete the dare process as a family. But a fun way to just engage with your community as you're kicking off the school year in an intentional way, even though we may not all be able to be together physically. And the last one, the Law of the Lid, is meant for that 5th week of school, where you will listen to the Law of the Lid Character Strong podcast that features both our co-founders, John Norland and Houston Kraft. And after listening, identify one way you can be more vulnerable this week to lift the lid of your leadership. and then create a plan for what this will look like in action and follow through. I have a link to the podcast right here that I'm going to drop in the chat for you to make it easy. So those are the character dares, but it wouldn't be the character dare process without the truth or dare portion. So you can do this process as a way to exit intentionally at the end of each of the first 5 days back with staff, and at the end of each of the first 5 weeks back to school. I also suggest that you do this with a partner. It always helps to have somebody that you talk with. So if you are the only administrator in your school, maybe you do this with your counselor or somebody else who's willing to go through and practice these character dares with you. You have the opportunity to either speak your truth or reflect on the dare. So if you're speaking your truth, that means that you didn't tackle the dare this week, but that doesn't mean that you didn't learn anything. So you can talk about what you thought about the most recent dare, maybe why you didn't do it. And if you choose to reflect upon the dare, you'll have an opportunity to share your experience, what you learned. It's a fun way to make sure that we're following through and what we intend to. Helps to have that accountability partner, so I highly suggest it. If you're on a larger team, you can either build this into like a weekly meeting that you already have, or you can split off into pairs or groups of 3 to go through this process. The last piece to how, in action, we can support our staff is with scripted emails to let them know about things that are coming up in our school. This one is about the upcoming Character Strong lesson that you might be teaching in your school this week. Maybe it's the first lesson, whatever it may be, but you send emails to help keep everyone on track. And having scripts like this helps to make it easy because then you can just plug some things in. So in this one, you would just plug in what the Character Strong lesson is about this week, why it's important to you, what you think the students will really enjoy, and any resources that you think might help your staff be successful in implementing the lesson. And then there's a spot for you to share the character dare, what last week's character dare was about, and then this week's character dare. There's also a place for you to share extra resources like our podcasts or blogs or webinars. At Character Strong, we are working really hard to make sure that there are multiple scripts to help building leaders make the implementation process easier. So you'll see those coming soon. But the more we can share with our staff about things that are coming up in our building and be very clear, the easier it is for people to participate and not get lost in the processes. I've seen lots of really cool samples online of different ways that schools are communicating with their staff, from just like weekly menus of things going on. Lots of really cool things. You know, at my former school, we had like this one-stop shop of all of the things that people might need. Sometimes it becomes overwhelming. So I really like the idea of sending that weekly email of all the information that you might need to get you through the entire week. The last point that I am going to make is about the gift of time. We need to be so intentional, and I would argue more so than ever with our time, because our educators, our staff, they're exhausted. So how can we support them with time? The first is to be aware of the fact that what we make time for equates to that which is most important to us. So I encourage you as a building leader to really be thinking about what you are making time for as your staff is coming back to school, or if you're already in the swing of things, what you're focusing on as a staff. What is it that you most value? What's most important to you right now? And then once you've identified what's most important and what you value, audit your time. Think about, is what you value represented in what you're doing with your time? Think about your back to school PD. Is what you value the thing that you're working on? I feel like this is the year, if there was ever a year, to let this be the year that we let go of some of the things we've always done because we felt like we just have to get them done, because right now we need to focus in on the needs of our staff and the needs of our students so that we can continue to help our students grow. Let go of the things that we don't have to do. We don't have to focus on right now. The other piece is that we can always think about time differently. So if you've audited your time and you're finding that your values aren't aligning with what you're making time for, then think about how you can let go of those things, but still make time for them, because it doesn't mean that they're not important, but maybe they're not most important right now. So how can we share that information in a different way? Maybe you typically did a whole group session on something that right now it just doesn't seem like it's fitting to do. Well, could you do some kind of Loom video or Flipgrid or a training video that you record on Zoom and share with your staff? Think about it differently, but I definitely challenge you to use the tools that your staff will use during virtual settings so that you're modeling that you too are learning those tools. You too are being vulnerable and learning and growing, as we all are right now. It helps your staff connect with you, but then you're also becoming a resource for your staff to come to in the event that they have questions as they're implementing these tools. And then finally, time can be a gift. I encourage you to find time, find opportunities to allow yourself to gift time to your staff. Give them time to go and practice these new tools. Give them time to reflect on their feelings. Give them time to prepare for what this upcoming school year will be like. Instead of packing our PD with all of the things from safety to new tools that we might need to be successful throughout the year, make sure that we're finding opportunities to gift our staff time so that they can get comfortable and willing to buy in and lower that anxiety. I have so enjoyed our time together today, and thank you so much for the awesome, engaging chat. If you have any questions about supporting staff, would love to brainstorm ideas with you. So feel free to either put those in the chat, or you can email me at chelsea@characterstrong.com. Happy to talk all things supporting staff. I loved the work of being a building administrator. It's one of the highlights of my career as an educator. So just know that you all are doing the great work and you're making a difference. Yes, go Eagles. Love it. Thank you, everyone, for being here and joining us. And I hope you have the best year despite all of the challenges. Just make it a great one.